Hello, we are going over SOL 6.2 today. Make sure that you use your red pen and your highlighter to check your answers. SOL 6.2 talks about, I'm going to highlight it here, make sure that you read what you need to be able to do. This has a lot to do with fractions, decimals, and percents, also from a representation, and comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. So let's go ahead and look at our hints. Make sure that you know how to change a fraction to a decimal, decimal to fraction, decimal to percent, percent to fraction, etc. This little chart might be able to help you write the amount as a fraction, then convert it to a decimal, and then convert the decimal to the percent. So here is your decimal, and then it shows you how to change it to a fraction. Make sure that you reduce. Let's look at number 1. What percent of the grid is shaded? The first thing you need to do is look and see, do you have 100 boxes? Do we have 100 boxes? Yes. So how many are shaded? 60. Did everyone get 60%? Good job. Okay, so basically you can count them. Could you just kind of make this an area instead of counting every single box? Could you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 by 7, which is what? 8 by 7 is a 56, and then you can add 1, 2, 3, 4, which gives you the total of 60. 60 out of 100 is 60%, right? 60 out of 100. You could also reduce that. It's also use 6 what? Tenths. You could reduce it again and divide by 2, which you would get 3/5. You can also change that to a decimal, which would be 0.60 or 0.6. All right, looking at number 2, which ratio correctly represents, ooh, a lot of us have trouble with this because it has a decimal and a percent. So, do you look at the decimal or do you look at the percent? Both. You need to look at both. It is a percent. And if you remember this word, if you did not, write this down, dip. This means decimal, D stands for decimal, decimal to percent. Decimal to percent, you're going to take the decimal and move it 2 to the right to be a percent. If it's a percent, you're going to move the decimal 2 to the left to become a decimal. Now this one has both. It's a 0.1%. That's a very small percentage. So we want to change this maybe to a decimal, and then from the decimal, change it back to a fraction. So what would the decimal be? How would I change it? What am I going to do? Think of this. If your number is 50%, where is the decimal in 50%? At the end, right? Well, it's kind of the same thing. There's the decimal. You don't need the decimal because it's at the very end. Here's a decimal here. So how do we change a decimal? Aren't we dividing by 100? That's why we're moving to the left twice. So if the decimal's here, to change it to a decimal, we're going to now change that to a 0.50. Same thing here. This is a 0.1. Move it 2 to the left. So what is your decimal? 0.001, correct? So this is your tenths place. This is your hundredths place. This is your thousandths place. So what's the answer? D. All right, number 3. Of the students in Mr. Smith's math class, 30% of them are boys. What is the decimal for the part of the class that are boys? So 30% out of 100 is how many? 30%. What's the decimal? 0.3 right here. 30% is a 0.3 or a 0.30. Number 4, identify each value that represents the shaded part. How did you figure out this one? What do you have to do? Okay. How many boxes is it all together? 100 boxes all together. So you have 100 boxes. How many of them are white? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a 5 by 6 tells me what? 30 boxes. 30 boxes are white. They want to know the shaded part. So if 30 boxes are white, do I subtract 30 from 100? What do you get? All right, so now we have to look. This is 70% because it's out of 100. So we have to look and see what are all of the options here. We know it's 70%. Are there any others that represent 70%? All right, 0.7. Is there anything else? 7/10. Yes, very good. Now, on the SOL test, you're going to have some questions that will say select all. If you miss one of them, it's going to mark the entire question wrong. All right, number 5. Which number is equivalent to the ratio 6/5? Which number? 6/5? Well, isn't 5/5 equal 1 whole? Well, it can't be any of these because those are all less than 1. So it has to be 120%. Why? Because 6/5, 5 goes into 6 one time with 1/5 left over. 1/5, 1 equals 100%. 1/5 equals what? 20%. So that's 120%. Number 6, which statement is true? Well, 4/5 is almost 100%. And that says basically 8%. I don't think that's right. 9/4, well, 4/4 is 100%, and this is 40% repeating, or 44%. I don't think it's that one. 4 2/5 and 9/4. Which one is it? Why is it C? Well, what is 2/5? 2 out of 5. What is it? All right, it's 40%. So 2/5 is 40%. And 4 is equal to 400%, right? Yes? Okay. Are there any questions so far? What about D? Let's look at D. You think D is better? Let's try it out. 9/4 is what? 4 goes into 9 how many times? 2 times with how many left over? 1/4. Oh, look at that. Which statement is true? So the correct answer is D, not C, because this is 4.40. If you move the decimal to the right or multiply by 100, that's 440%, so it can't be C. The correct answer is D. Number 7, identify each value that is equivalent to 5 to 8. 5 to 8 is a ratio. It could also be a fraction, 5/8, 5 to 8. What else? 0.625. Is there anything else? If I move it 2 to the right, what would the percentage be? 2 to the right would be this, right? Are there any others? Nope, I think that's it. All right, last one, number 8. Match the fraction or decimal with its equivalent ratio. 20% is 1/5. 0.25. 1/4. 0.6 repeating. 666. Yep. And the last one, 60%. So make sure you make your corrections. You study the ones that you missed. See me if you need any additional help.